What will the future of Robert Pattinson's The Batman be? See guys, there are two outcomes. The first outcome is that his Batman will be the main Batman in the DCU. The other outcome is that he'll fulfill the trilogy that Matt Reeves intended. But what if I told you that I have an idea that will make both of these outcomes work together? What's up, DC Nation? Welcome back. And guys, today we're talking about The Batman from 2022. Such a great movie. If you guys don't know, I'm in college for film and animation. And guys, we talk about that movie in a lot of my classes, audio, editing, basically any film class. That movie is mentioned at least once throughout a semester. Like guys, the cinematography is always mentioned, like top tier cinematography, great sound design, and yeah, dude, just a great movie in general from a film perspective, but from also a fan perspective, like a DC fan. I really love this iteration of Batman, and I can understand some people may not like that it's so grounded, because guys, we had Nolan, so it may look a little repetitive or feel a little repetitive, but at the same time, it's very different. And I like where they're going with it. I'm very excited for The Batman Part 2, even though it got delayed like a lot. But hey, dude, greatness takes time. But check out this artwork that shows Robert Pattinson's The Batman side by side with David Cornsweat's Superman in the DCU. You got the dust uplifted from the ground, DCU in the background, the Justice League, Jon Stewart, the Green Lantern, Martian Manhunter, Wonder Woman, Flash, and Hawkgirl. Guys, I love this artwork. And whether you want Robert Pattinson's The Batman in the DCU or not, you gotta admit, this artwork is dope. And I gotta give a shout out to the artist that made it. I commissioned this guy. His name on Instagram is Characters Diary, and he's from Thailand. Great guy. I saw his artwork of James Gunn in the forefront with all of the different DC characters in the background about a couple months ago, and I was like, man, this artwork is amazing. I had an idea. I was like, dude, what if we could get a similar perspective where characters are walking forward, but we have Batman and Superman side by side, and it's the DCU's David Cornsweat's Superman by Matt Reeves' The Batman, Robert Pattinson. And I asked him, and dude, he did such a phenomenal job. Like, guys, look at that. Come on, that looks so cool. I love this artwork, so yeah guys, go follow Characters Diary on Instagram. He actually mentions me in the description because I commissioned him, so yeah, great guy, great artist. But let's go to, okay, this suit. I actually like this idea of the utility belt being yellow. That's the only change they make, because this suit is actually phenomenal. This is a really cool suit. Yes, it's another armored suit, and it is fully black. Like, I do want more color. Obviously, I want the blue and gray. I really want to see that in live action. I hope that's what they go for the DCU Batman. But dude, this suit right here with the yellow utility belt, it just fits so good, man. Like, come on, you can't tell me that doesn't look like a 10 out of 10, like, evolution of the suit. So simple, but effective. Okay, but let's get to the cons of Robert Pattinson's The Batman joining the DCU, alright? I saw this thread on X or Twitter, whatever you call it, and I thought this thread had a lot of similar ideas that I had, but I'm going to go more in depth. I'm going to read what this guy said. This guy, I'll shout him out, Royal Majesty on X Twitter. He's great. He be making some great threads that go in depth, and it really seems like he's a real DC fan. He doesn't spread hate, none of that stuff. So really good. But I'll read it, and then I'll give my thoughts on each point, alright? So, the cons of Robert Pattinson's The Batman joining the DCU. Plot holes. The world of Gotham in the Reeves verse is very realistic and grounded. People in this world have never quite seen a vigilante like Batman, which adds to his aura. metahumans don't exist in this universe, so a mortal man taking it upon himself to save a whole city carries that much more impact. Now, I do like this idea that, okay, Batman is the only hero in this world, there's no superheroes, so it does add impact that a man would dress up as a bat. Like, a guy dressing up as a bat and fighting crime, like, yeah, dude, he's a lunatic. Like, come on, I know we talk about all the lunatics in Gotham, Joker, but you know, Joker and Batman are not that much different. Like, they are different, but they're in the same field, you know? They're both insane. A guy, if you decide to dress up as a bat and fight fight criminals, like, it's a good war on crime, it's a good message, he has a good motivation, but he's insane in the way that he does it. So, yeah, the impact is definitely there, and also James Gunn has talked about metahumans being on the rise in the DCU, and they're really prominent. And actually, the Lanterns TV show that's coming up, you're going to see a lot of metahumans. So there would be a plot hole in that, oh, metahumans are all over the DCU, but oh, there's no mention of them at all in this Gotham. There would be some disconnection there. I could definitely see that, and I do agree with this, but on the contrary, Gotham is kinda always separate from the rest of the DC universe. Like, yeah, there's still superheroes that show up, like in 80 years of Batman comic history, Superman has visited Gotham, all the heroes have, but normally Gotham is more contained. So, I don't know, like, there being no mention of metahumans and just Batman and Gotham being contained, I can actually see this. Like, this is Metropolis or any other city and there's no mention of metahumans, then there would definitely be a problem. But this is Gotham. Batman is supposed to be the odd one out. Gotham is supposed to be the odd one out. So this actually fits, and actually, I remember seeing before the Batman came out in 2022, like set photos of, let me see, set photos of Superman and Wonder Woman costumes on the Batman set. Like, there's like kids on Halloween dressing up as them. Oh yeah, right here, dude. Yeah, look at this. It was cut from the movie, so it was people actually dressing up as Superman, Wonder Woman, and that was cut from the movie to not really show an outside world of the Batman, just to focus on Gotham. So there was already kind of some seeds being planted. Yes, it was cut from the movie, but this tells us that Matt Reeves and Warner Bros. Or some part of the development of the Batman had some setup for a wider DC universe, alright? So they could definitely make this work. So yeah, I can see the plot holes, but I can also see these plot holes being easily solved. Alright, let's go to the next point. Oh, plot holes continued. In the DCU, superheroes exist and have existed for a while. So this makes the plot of the Batman convoluted, because a guy like Paul Dano's Riddler would have been thwarted fairly quickly before fleeing the city. Metahumans likely would have been active in Gotham before or currently, not to mention kaijus exist in the DCU as well. Matt Reeves said a while ago that if a character like Superman were to enter his universe, the people would have to act like they've never seen a superpowered being before. So this kind of just expanding on the previous point, and I already mentioned that, yeah, James Gunn has mentioned that superheroes already exist, and we did see a kaiju in the Superman trailer, but then again, Metropolis brings that type of villainy. That's those type of monsters, alright? We can have monsters in Metropolis, and then Gotham could be dealing with just serial killers. Like, you could have that contrast. It's been like that in the comics. Like, okay, in the comics, you see Superman fighting Brainiac in Metropolis. You have a whole Brainiac invasion, and then we go over to Gotham, and Batman is taking on the Riddler. Like, there's always a big contrast. Like, Gotham is the odd one out. So that's my counter to this point. But on the other hand, I can see what he's talking about. Paul Dano's the Riddler. If he knew that there was superheroes in the world, would he really go through with the flood? Would he feel so confident and start a cult? That's another thing. Him starting a cult and all these people following that. And then, oh, you guys gotta remember that all these criminals started to fear the Batman, and Batman putting fear into the city. But if there's already superheroes in the world, wouldn't all these criminals feel a little less confident, a little scared already? Like, oh, you got Superman flying around, but it's Batman, a guy in a bat suit that scares you, right? There's some disconnection there. So yeah, this point is pretty good. These plot holes, I wouldn't call these plot holes though. I guess they are, but they're not like big, evident plot holes. But let's continue. Pattinson would be obsolete. Pattinson's Batman is very inexperienced and is barely even Batman yet. Most of his equipment is makeshift, unrefined, and in the prototype stages. He could barely handle basic thugs and Twitch stream supporters, and his tech isn't as advanced, so throwing him into a world full of metahumans would make him almost obsolete. I disagree with this point, because yes, okay, he would be obsolete, and this is an early Batman, but you could also jump farther into the future, and I know it has been stated before that this movie takes place somewhere around 2020, and if Superman takes place in 2025, and if we get an older Batman, and it's only been 5 years, you're telling me he goes from barely understanding technology and being in his early stages to in 5 years being like experienced Bat family Batman? Like, nah, maybe that won't work, but I don't know. What do you guys say about the idea of retconning just the year? Do you guys really care enough about the year? Like, if they just announced that, okay, the Batman actually took place in 2015, and okay, 10 years later in Superman, he is now more experienced. Would that actually make you guys like mad about that? Do you guys care about the year that much? I personally don't, because they don't actually reference the year, if I'm remembering correctly, in the movie. It was just stated in like an interview, so it would not mess with the movie itself, and it's just a year, bro. It's not the year of the movie, it's not like a big point in the movie. I would get it if like, oh, 2020 or 2022 is like all over the movie and it's a big plot point. I would understand that, but it wasn't. So they could easily retcon that, and I don't think people, I don't know, maybe people would get mad. But the idea of him also being obsolete and us seeing that transition from being early stages Batman, obsolete, to him being experienced, like that's the perfect evolution for Batman. Like, I love that. We're basically going from not year 1, but year 2, which has been confirmed that Matt Reeves' The Batman takes place in year 2. We're going from an early stage Batman to a more experienced Batman, and we can actually see that evolution in real time. Now, what do I mean by that? Well, I'll go more deep and more in depth with that in my idea at the end of this video, alright? Remember I mentioned that I have an idea that could make Robert Pattinson being the main Batman in the DCU, but also fulfilling Matt Reeves' trilogy, make both of those outcomes work together. I mentioned that at the beginning of this video, and I will deliver, alright? So stay tuned, guys. And the idea of Batman evolving from early stages to experienced and seeing that evolution in real time, that will be talked about in my idea, alright? But let's keep this going. So next, Pattinson's arc. Pattinson's Batman is in the early stages of his arc. He hasn't even developed a dual personality Bruce Wayne persona yet. Gunn wants the DCU to hit the ground running, Bat family and all. And by the time Reeves completes his trilogy, it'll be 2030 or later. Matt Reeves likes to take his time. Yeah, dude, like, Bro, Matt Reeves was hired in like 2017, and it wasn't until 2022 that the Batman came out. And okay, 2022, the Batman came out, the sequel is now coming out in 2027, 5 years. So the Batman Part 3, will most likely come out in 2032. So I can see what he's talking about here. So Batson wouldn't be able to get involved with other projects until about 2032-ish. There's simply not enough time to wait for that, since it's not a guarantee the DCU will even run that long. Yes, it's not a guarantee that the DCU will go that long. The DCU may not make it past Superman. They're really relying on Superman to do well, and I hope it does well, man. I want a DC Cinematic Universe. I want a universe where everything is interconnected, but we still get, you know, solo movies that are in their own world. Like, not everything has to be so interconnected that every character is in every movie, and they really rely on the interconnection instead of the story. But the story has to be good in every movie. But I like a wider DC Cinematic Universe, and I just like DC doing well. I'm a big DC fan, so I hope Superman does well, and I hope we get a full trilogy for Matt Reeves' The Batman. I'm pretty sure we are. Like, the first movie did so well, and Warner Bros. Is really backing it. But going back to this point about, okay, they have to wait until the trilogy is over before Robert Pattinson's The Batman can join the DCU, I actually disagree with this. Technically, because it takes Matt Reeves so long, you guys think about it, they haven't started filming yet. They have not started filming for The Batman Part 2. They're going to at the end of this year, so that means from 2022 to 2025. I know Robert Pattinson was working, but if they plan things right for the next few years, technically during that time, he could have been filming something else DC related. Maybe something in the DCU. Like, it'd be one thing if Matt Reeves had production going on for 5 years straight, and okay, Robert Pattinson was booked with Matt Reeves that entire time, but no, Robert Pattinson has not been booked. He's just about to start filming. So during this time from 2022 to 2025, if the DCU was around and James Gunn was making projects, Robert Pattinson's The Batman could have been filming something DCU related. Do you guys see where I'm going with this? We'll get more in depth at the end of the video, alright? I think they could both work. Him being the DCU, but also fulfilling Matt Reeves' trilogy. Alright, let's keep it going. So, fantastical elements would be limited. Look, I love Batman films, period. This is the guy talking. Both grounded and fantastical. I'm a Batman fan through and through. That being said, with the myriad of live-action Batman films we've gotten, myriad, great word, I love that word, the grounded take has been done to death. Nolan already did the best. To explore more aspects of the character and keep things compelling, it's time to dive into the fantastical elements, which Matt Reeves has shown a resistance to. Let Reeves go into grounded noir, and allow DCU Batman to go fantastical to differentiate. So I agree that DCU Batman could be very fantastical, and Robert Pattinson's The Batman could be grounded. You could have a big difference there, but at the same time, I think Robert Pattinson could be that fantastical Batman, and he could be fighting those fantastical villains with a different director, where when he's with Matt Reeves, it could be full grounded. And if you have a 10-year time jump, then it would make sense that Gotham in this world goes from, okay, grounded and having just criminals, serial killers, to having fantastical villains. And actually, the fantastical villains jumping into a grounded world would make them stand out more. And some people don't like that. They may think, oh, it wouldn't fit. But you guys have to remember, it's fantastical. It's not supposed to fit. It's supposed to feel kind of jarring. It's supposed to feel like, whoa, a clay monster in this world? It's supposed to feel different. And I think that would add to just the cinematic quality and just how cool the idea of, say, Clayface, Man-Bat, Poison Ivy, Mr. Freeze could be. You know what I mean? Like, that could be really cool. And also, grounded, I do agree that it's been done to death. Like, Nolan's Batman trilogy did it perfect, man. And it's going to be hard for the Batman Part 2 to top The Dark Knight. In my opinion, I still think that The Dark Knight is better than the Batman, but I think the Batman is better than Batman Begins. Barely, though. I really love Batman Begins. So we'll see. They're kind of neck and neck. But hey, Matt Reeves has a lot of time. He's been writing that script, and I'm hoping we get a masterpiece, man. Okay, but let's continue. Pattinson wouldn't fit in the Justice League. I've heard this point a lot. Pattinson's Batman is a recluse. He's probably the darkest Batman we've ever seen in live action. I simply can't picture him having an interaction with a character like Plastic Man without cringing my ass off. That's a funny way you put it. But okay. Plastic Man and Batman being together, on screen together. I remember in Brave and the Bold, it was just, okay, jarring, and he had the blue and gray suit, but that's what made the team up so great. You got Plastic Man, this goof who stretches, has a dark backstory, has a really interesting story. I love Plastic Man, and we'll be talking about Plastic Man in a future video. But when Batman is side by side with these other heroes, he's supposed to feel like the odd one out. Like, I really believe that, man. Like, yeah, when he's with Superman, yeah, there's a big difference, but okay, they have that world's finest dynamic, so it makes up for it. But when he's with like Elongated Man, Plastic Man, Elongated Man actually have a rivalry. They want to hang out with Batman a lot. I love that about those two characters, that dynamic, especially that scene in Brave and the Bold, one of my favorite shows, my favorite Batman animated series. But okay, let's get back to what I was talking about. Batman, when he's next to other characters that are more fantastical and very out there, him being so different is what makes the dynamic so interesting, alright? Like, if he was super fantastical, it would still work, it would still be cool, but I don't know, I find something appealing about this type of Batman that is grounded right now, and if he's more experienced, he would still be kinda grounded and not all the way fantastical, but something about this type of Batman being side by side with a stretchy man, a Plastic Man. Okay, some people might find that cringe. I would find that so interesting. Like, I want to see that. And if it's handled well, if there's good writing, it won't be cringe. Honestly, things that are cringe, it's usually not because of the dynamic or really the circumstance. It's because of the writing or maybe just how the scene is lit. Like, guys, you'll be surprised how cinematography and writing and sound and just the whole cinematic experience can make something that may seem cringe in your head and cringe on paper come to life and actually work. And I think this is one of those situations where, okay, this type of Batman side by side with Plastic Man could actually work. All right, let's keep it going. Pattinson doesn't seem like the Bat family type right now, all right? I'm gonna say right now. Like, we've only seen one movie of him, and yeah, he hasn't even shown his Bruce Wayne persona yet. But we'll go more in depth with that soon. But Pattinson's Batman takes a lot of gunfire. He gets shot at almost religiously and takes a lot of punches to the face. Inserting a 13-year-old wearing red and green into that narrative would feel very goofy and ruin the suspension of disbelief for the Reeves verse. Now, yeah, I don't think they should go with like the pixie boots and the OG Robin costume. Like, you could go with something more in line with this. I like this photo. This is really legit. And you could start with that, but later on, as this Batman develops, you could have those more fantastical suits, which actually I wouldn't really say they're fantastical suits. Like Red Hood could work in the Reeves verse. Nightwing could work in the Reeves verse. Actually, the only character that wouldn't work is the OG Robin, like the Dick Grayson Pixie Boots Robin, but you could make that work. So yeah, actually, yeah, I think this point could easily be fixed. Like, yeah, okay, Batman gets shot, but if you have Robin there, and actually a big part of Batman's character in the Bat family is he puts children in his crusade, and Batman, he has shown the consequences of putting these children in his war on crime countlessly, like, you know, Jason Todd dying, Damian Wayne dying, all these different Robins dying, and Batman having to deal with that. So I actually think this would work, like it would actually fit. And okay, suspension of disbelief, dude, I'm telling you, if the cinematography is right, if the writing is down to a T, if it is really good, then that suspension of disbelief will be there. It comes down to the filmmakers, man. Like, there's so much you could do as a creative, as a filmmaker, to make that suspension of disbelief stay there. Like, there's so many crazy ideas that filmmakers come up with, that I come up with, that I'm like, how am I gonna make this seem like it could be real, or not realistic, like not everything has to be realistic, but you know, sell it to the audience. The whole point of filmmaking is to be creative and sell your idea to the audience. Get the audience to believe in your idea and to really get immersed. So yeah, it's down to the filmmaking, man. I feel like a lot of these points, it's like, oh, suspension of disbelief and it's grounded. Nah, bro. If you have good writing, good cinematography, and yeah, some of these plot holes I can understand some of these points, but also some of these points, dude, they can easily be fixed, alright? Like, obviously, if the cinematography is not great, and if things are not done well, then these points will stand even taller. These points will stand even more out to the audience. Yes, it's a risk, but remember, if you take a risk, you'll have a really big reward, alright? And I think we might get that here. Alright, let's keep this going. Robert Pattinson, to me, just doesn't look like Bruce Wayne from the comics. His facial structure is much more skinny. Wait, I lost it, hold up. And bony. He'd be perfect for a character like the Joker or Jonathan Crane, in my opinion. I accept his non-comic accurate look as an Elseworlds take, but for that to be our main universe Batman for the next decade plus, I'd rather have someone more accurate. Alright, so this is more like just his opinion on Robert Pattinson's Batman. This is not really dealing with, okay, him joining the DCU or not. Like, this is just, okay, he doesn't like how his Bruce Wayne look, but at the same time, his Bruce Wayne look in the Batman, it was more misdirection instead of miscasted, alright? Let me clarify that. Because, okay, for example, okay, Jesse Eisenberg's Lex Luthor. A lot of people say he was not a good cast for Lex Luthor, but I really think it was a misdirection. If they gave him like a better direction in Batman v Superman, told him to be more stoic and more like the Lex we all know, you know, an intellectual, and less like the Riddler and less like the Joker and making all these quips and jokes, then I think it could have actually worked. Because guys, when Jesse Eisenberg's Lex Luthor, when he was bald, I was like, that kind of looks like Lex. I can see it. But then he would start talking and it would ruin it. So misdirection, miscast is a big thing. So I think that Robert Pattinson, if you gave him the right direction, I actually think that's where Matt Reeves is going. Like, I think he started Robert Pattinson's Batman, his Bruce Wayne out as this more emo and very recluse version, but as the trilogy goes on, he's going to become more open. Because guys, you remember at the end of the Batman, he said, well, Batman said that he wants to bring hope to Gotham. He wants to do more. And maybe that's not just as Batman. Maybe that is as the philanthropist Bruce Wayne. So, you see where I'm going with this? There may be a character arc there, and if he becomes that Bruce Wayne that everybody loves and everybody knows, then his facial structure will not matter at all. Like, he just looks bony right now, and also, if he puts on some weight, like, dude, he's not so bony that, oh, it's a lost cause. Nah, if he actually puts on some weight, I could actually see it working. And in my opinion, I actually like his look for Batman, especially in the costume. Like, just the jawline, the eyes, I actually think it's good. Like, I respect this guy's opinion. I see where he's coming from. Not the Joker and Jonathan Crane, I can't see that. But the rest of it, I can see it. Alright, Matt Reeves' wishes. This is the big one. Matt Reeves has stated on numerous occasions that, like Christopher Nolan, he wants his Batverse to be its own thing. So as a fan of his, I think we should respect his wishes. James Gunn seems to believe the same. So I agree with this. I agree that we should respect Matt Reeves' wishes, and my idea at the end of the video, they could still make it work, man. He could still have his own Batverse in a way where he focuses on the early years of Batman. And I've actually seen a lot of interviews that Matt Reeves is sticking with the early years of Batman. Like the Batman Part 2 is supposed to happen right after the Batman, like literally a month or two, like not long afterwards, and I'm guessing Part 3 will happen at most a year afterwards. So you could easily have Matt Reeves' The Batman trilogy set in just the early years of Batman, and it could be its own thing. And we'll get more into that, alright? But yeah, I really believe in respecting directors' visions and their wishes. I'm trying to be a director myself in the film industry, and yeah, I can understand. This is the best point, alright? This is the best point right here. Alright, Brave and the Bold would be cancelled. To integrate Batson into the DCU, Brave and the Bold's plans would essentially have to be cancelled to fit with Matt Reeves' vision. This means no Talia al Ghul, no Damian, and possibly no Bat Family for the foreseeable future. So I disagree here, because I think we can make that movie still happen. Now, will it be delayed? Maybe. But remember, it takes Matt Reeves a long time to make these movies, and Robert Pattinson could make this movie in between. And we'll get more into that at the end of the video, alright? We're almost there. There's a lot of cons here, and I understand that, alright? And guys, if you disagree with me on anything in this video, that's okay. Just tell me down below in a respectful way, alright? Don't come hating at me. Like, guys, we're all DC fans here. Maybe we're all fans of the Batman, alright, this certain iteration. Maybe some of you guys don't like this iteration, that's okay as well, but be respectful, alright? Alright, continuing. Quote from Matt Reeves: "When pressed on whether Superman could nevertheless still exist in the Batman's universe, Reeves replied, 'You mean if Superman could?' Is that what you're saying? I mean, if something like that did happen, because I was very careful about, if suddenly in the Batman world you discovered that there was an alien that was Superman, there'd be a lot of shock. I mean, people would have to say, oh my god, and maybe that would be the one fantastical element. But to be honest with you, that's not the intention at this point, to figure out how to make that come. So okay, Matt Reeves, he's not like neglecting the idea like 100%. Now, most of the time, he's not like into the idea 100% either, but I feel like some people act like he straight up said, no, I hate the idea. He didn't say he hates the idea, he just said he wants to tell his own story. I bet if you told him, hey, you can make your own trilogy, you don't have to use Superman, you can focus entirely on Batman, but if we have Robert Pattinson be another movie, and it's set way after the events of your movies, so it's way separate, so you can still do whatever you want in your trilogy, he'd be fine with that. He'd be like, oh, okay, so Robert Pattinson gets more work, he continues to be Batman, and he can actually be Batman as I write scripts for my next movies, but I can still carry out my vision. You guys see where I'm going with this? Well, we're almost to the point of my idea, alright? Alright, so that ends the cons, alright? I know this is a lot. This is gonna be a long video, bro. I hope you guys are enjoying, alright? I hope you have a good snack. Maybe some Culver's fries, maybe some Cane's bread. Dude, that bread at Cane's is amazing, bro. I love it. Maybe Chick-fil-A, I don't know. Comment down below what you guys get. What snacks did you have while watching this video? And what's your favorite food, alright? Or what's actually your favorite restaurant or fast food? There's a guy on X or Twitter, another user named Peter Hayes, and he actually makes some good points about the positives of Batson joined the DCU, alright? We checked out all the cons that were laid out very well, and I went in depth on my thoughts, and I'm going to go in depth with my thoughts on these positives, alright? So let's go. The integration of Robert Pattinson's Batman into the DC universe represents an intriguing possibility that could fundamentally reshape both the character and the broader superhero landscape. While many have advocated for keeping the Batman universe separate, there are compelling reasons to consider the benefits of merging these worlds. The potential for a unified narrative stands as perhaps the most exciting prospect, as it would allow for unprecedented storytelling opportunities that could bridge the gap between Reeves' grounded, noir-influenced approach and the more fantastical elements of the DCU. Imagine watching Pazdan's methodical detective work intersect with supernatural threats and seeing his pragmatic approach challenge the more idealistic viewpoints of heroes like Superman. Now guys, pragmatic, we don't see that word a lot, so I'm going to look it up. I know what it means, but just to help you guys, for those who don't know what it means, dealing with things sensibly and realistically in a way that is based on practical rather than theoretical considerations, all right? I remember that I didn't know what pragmatic meant, and I try to define certain words in these videos, so if you guys are watching, you don't have to pause the video and go define a word, all right? Because that'll probably ruin the flow. I want to help you guys out. So I agree with that. Like, dude, there's so many storytelling opportunities with having Robert Pattinson's The Batman be in the DCU, just how he is, to see the Batman evolve into a fantastical world. That would be so interesting, man. Like, that's storytelling right there. Like, I think a lot of people think that, okay, everything has to be aesthetically the same or everything has to be similar, but if we think about it, when a world is aesthetically the same and there's no contrast or no big differences, it's kind of boring. Like, okay, I like Marvel and MCU. Let's look at the MCU. Lately, a lot of movies have been kind of the same, and there's a formula, and everybody's calling it superhero fatigue. But it's not superhero fatigue. We all still love superheroes. We love the differences, all right? At the end of the day, these superheroes, these stories, they're their own thing. They're all different. You look at Spider-Man and Superman, vastly different. But if you made them the same and they're in the same world, like, okay, they could be in the same world, and when they cross over, that would be interesting because how different they are. But if you make them aesthetically the same and so similar, it's not gonna be as interesting. Yeah, it'll look aesthetically pleasing on the screen, and when you go to watch the movie, the crossover, you'll be like, oh, this makes sense, okay. They have similar costumes. Oh, the cinematography is similar. Okay, I can see it. But wouldn't it be more interesting if you see two types of cinematography merging and these two different worlds merging? Like, unprecedented storytelling, that's the perfect way to describe that. So yeah, that's my opinion. I like different. I like these different aesthetics, these different perspectives, these different cities, these different worlds, these different characters crossing over, and it actually feeling like an event instead of it just feeling like, oh, okay, I kind of already saw them being in the same world because they look the same. Alright, continuing. The characters in Gotham would not have to act. All they have known is villains are tearing up the city and Batman comes to save them. It would not be entirely far-fetched to integrate Superman into the story without the citizens of Gotham ever knowing about Superman except through the now in-universe canon news network. So for the citizens of Gotham, they recognize that there are heroes among us, and since Superman is the symbol of hope, and upon seeing his acts of heroism, might encourage the citizens to rise up and take Gotham back from the underworld network of gangs and criminals. I agree with this, because guys, Gotham is the odd one out. Gotham has always been the city in the DC universe where people are kinda in their own lives, in their own heads. Like, yeah, there may be superheroes all around the world, but they will still be focused on the gangs, the criminals, and the Batman. And honestly, if you move to Gotham, you are insane as well. Like, to hear about all the things going on there and you move there, you kinda have to, like, neglect everything else going on in the world. And actually, if you're in Gotham, you're probably poor, you're not doing well, and you're struggling, so I don't think a lot of these citizens really care about all the other superheroes. They're just trying to survive, and the Batman and these gangs get in their way, and in the spotlight, they're like in their view. Where the other superheroes are just like, okay, if they have time to look them up, and yeah, a news network would be the only way for them to even hear about the superheroes. And yeah, you would say, well, they could travel, but if they travel, they're no longer in Gotham, so they're no longer in the Batman movies. So yeah, easy fix right there. Alright, continuing. The evolution of Pattinson's Batman character would be particularly fascinating with the broader universe, currently positioned as a relatively inexperienced vigilante finding his footing in Gotham. Okay, I agree, seeing that evolution would be amazing, and we're going to get more into that very soon. So yeah, he's kind of repeating similar things to the last guy, but you know, countering those different points. Because remember, this guy, Peter Hayes, he was responding to Royal Majesty's threat, alright? Just to clarify on that. Alright, continuing. From a fan engagement perspective, the merger would create a more unified and invested community. Rather than maintaining separate fan bases for different iterations of the character, a shared universe will allow viewers to follow a single, coherent version of Batman across multiple storylines and interactions. This approach has historically proven successful in comics, where readers have long appreciated seeing their favorite characters maintain consistency while evolving through various team-ups and crossovers. The contrast between Pattinson's darker, more grounded approach and Superman's message of hope and more colorful elements could create compelling dynamics that appeal to fans of both styles. So getting back to a more unified fan base, right now guys, we have the Matt Reeves, the Batman fan base, we have the DCU James Gunn fan base, we have the Snyder fan base, and there's probably more. We have a Superman Lois fan base rising up. Like, there's so many different fan bases in the DC fan base that it's starting to become divided. So actually merging Matt Reeves the Batman with the DCU in a good way, very important clarification there. If they do it in a bad way, then it'll create even more divide. It's a risk for sure, but the reward of bringing the DC fan base together, I want to see that. That's a big accomplishment, and that could be accomplished through the merge. Now, getting back to the team-ups and the contrast between Batman, Superman, that's the biggest appeal for me, alright? Check this out. This Jim Lee artwork of Batman, Superman, and seeing the day of Metropolis and the night of Gotham and how different they look, that big contrast, I love that. And right here, the contrast right here, and especially right here, look at Superman right there, look at Batman right there, the Batman. The contrast, the dark and gritty, and then the more hopeful and positive. That's what Superman Batman is. That's what the world's finest is. And let's go to Superman the animated series. Guys, check this out. The iconic world's finest three-parter in the DCAU. Dude, in this storyline, when we see Batman and Superman interact, it is so dope, man. Right here. Oh, and Superman already knows his identity. Seeing these two go toe-to-toe, and Superman being in Gotham, look how out of place he looks there. Okay, a guy in a Superman costume, and he looks so bold, he has an S on his chest, but he's in a gang environment, and Batman just beat up some criminals. Batman being in Metropolis, he'll look out of place. Superman being in Gotham, he'll look out of place. But that's how it should be. That contrast is amazing, man. That's what I love about the world's finest. They have a great dynamic, but their contrast is one of the best contrasts in not just the comic book world, in the superhero community, but just in media and just creatively in general. Seeing Superman, imagine seeing Superman in Gotham, David Cornsweet Superman, with the nights in the background, the moon. Imagine that shot of Superman flying up to the moon, and maybe Batman on a building and in the Beataz stance, and the lightning strike. Oh, that would be so dope. That'd be so dope. Dude, I would get hyped. Imagine, okay, I'm actually visualizing it now. Imagine at the end of one of the movies or an end credit scene, you see Robert Pattinson's the Batman at the top of a building in the Beataz stance, the lightning strikes, and then you see him look up and you see Superman standing with his arms like this and the moon behind him as a backlighting. And then he goes up to Batman and he's hovering and they're talking. Dude, can you visualize that? Can you visualize that? That would be so dope, man. Okay, let's get back to the points that my guy Peter Hayes was making. Alright, so continuing, we got 3 more points, and then we'll get to my big idea in this video. The creative possibilities within such a merger shouldn't be underestimated. Despite potential concerns about creative restrictions, Matt Reeves' distinct vision for Batman could actually be enhanced by the challenge of incorporating his style with a larger framework. Just as Christopher Nolan maintained his artistic integrity while working within certain comic-based constraints, Reeves could potentially find innovative ways to tell stories while acknowledging the existence of a broader superhero community. This balance could lead to unique narrative approaches that respect both the character's noir roots and his place in a larger mythological context. Now, I agree that him innovating and him challenging himself would be cool, and I bet Matt Reeves could do something amazing with that. But his wishes were to just have his vision and not have to deal with that, not have to be forced to be innovative. And in my opinion, when creators are kind of forced to be innovative and they're challenged in that type of way, a lot of times that doesn't work. And if it does work, cool, but also puts some kind of stress on the creator that shouldn't be there. Like, remember, this is a passion. Like, filmmaking is a passion. If you have stress attached to that, or you're forced to do something, it makes it feel more like work instead of passion. And when you have it be more like work, most likely you're not going to have a good product. So yeah, I don't like that. I don't like forcing him or putting him in that situation, challenging him. But at the same time, I think that Robert Pattinson's Batman could be in the DCU, but I'm not saying that Matt Reeves should be forced to be like a director in a DCU movie. I think that he should be the director of his Batman films, but when it comes to like Robert Pattinson being the Batman in the DCU and other Batman movies in that DCU, like later on, it could be different directors, alright? So that Matt Reeves does not have to really be forced to anything. And I'll get more into that in a second, alright? Because remember, I'm trying to get Robert Pattinson's the Batman in the DCU, but still respect Matt Reeves' vision, him wanting his story to be self-contained. He never said that Robert Pattinson, Batman, like the actor, cannot be Batman anything else. He never said that. He just said he wants his vision to be carried out in his way and it to be contained and him not to be restricted too much, and that could be fulfilled, alright? Alright, 2 more points. Moreover, the commercial and creative synergy of bringing, okay, yeah, I already see what he's saying. Yeah, the synergy of Batman and Superman together. And dude, you're already seeing with Superman in the comics, like the summer of Superman and the year of Superman. I love synergy in DC comics, animation, movies, and the synergy that you would have with Robert Pattinson's the Batman and David Corenswet's Superman, just things feeling coherent and together would be amazing, man. And it would be great for the casual audience. Like, that's been a big point for a lot of people that want Robert Pattinson's the Batman to be in the DCU. Alright, last point for Peter Hayes. So that is just a few reasons why Pattinson would work so well in the overall story while being grounded, which is what James wants his DCU to look like. His dark, genius style contrasted behind a backdrop of hope would provide an interesting conflict for him. And remember, Batman said he's trying to bring hope to Gotham at the end of the Batman. So hope is already there. So we can see that expanded upon in the later years of this Batman. Not in Matt Reeves' story, but in the later years. While acknowledging that man has a dark side. Oh, well, he worded that weirdly. While acknowledging that Batman has a dark side, he grows into a better person because of seeing the world at times as Superman sees it. Superman gives people hope and is a savior, which is exactly what the people of Gotham need. They also need Batman fighting the shadows to be their Dark Knight. This arc would provide solid development for both characters. Batman and Superman's conflicting beliefs, though, come to a head, which is why Batman v Superman exists, the first half anyway. This is why they are considered the world's finest. They find a way to balance the dark and the light and become the best heroes they could be. I agree with that. Yes, it starts out that they're against each other, or not like fully against each other, but you know, they have some different beliefs and there's like an interesting conflict. But then they work together and their dynamic is amazing. And that's shown so well in that World's Finest 3-parter in the DCAU in Superman the Animated Series. Remember, they fight at first and Batman actually flips Superman. But yeah, Batman and Superman working together and Superman actually acknowledging Batman's efforts. There's actually a short film that was on YouTube that I watched like a while back. It's Batman, Superman, Robert Pattinson short film. I thought this did their dynamic so well. Oh yeah, I recommend you guys watch this. It's by The Glorious Pictures. It's only like 6 minutes and really only like 4 to 5 minutes because credits. And the CGI, yes, it's not movie level, but it's pretty impressive for YouTube. And they talk and just their dynamic here. Watch this, alright? If you want to see Robert Pattinson, Batman, and David Gordon Sweat Superman side by side and see their dynamic, watch this. I like how the creator of this fan film approached this, their dialogue, and how Superman recognizes Batman, his efforts, his war on crime, and how he's trying to bring hope to Gotham, and how Batman recognizes the Man of Steel. It's really cool, man. I feel like there's so much storytelling you could do with the World's Finest. And yes, you could still do that with a different actor as Batman. Yes, that could still be carried out. But just like what's already been established with Robert Pattinson's The Batman, how he's so like at a low point and how he's trying to bring hope back. There's so much struggle that comes with Batman. And Superman, he has struggles too, but he deals with those struggles differently. He's a man of hope. He's the symbol of hope. So to see those two next to each other, I just want to see the World's Finest on screen. Give me a World's Finest movie, another Batman and Superman movie. Give me more of their dynamic. And give me more Wonder Woman too. Like, bro, the Trinity. We're gonna talk more about the Trinity and what the DCU could do with them in a future video, so stay tuned for that. But yeah, guys, that ends the pros, and let's get to my idea. The video has been built to this point. We talked about the cons of adding Robert Pattinson's The Batman to the DCU. We talked about the pros, but my idea, all right, let's get to it. So, I want Matt Reeves to complete his The Batman trilogy. He's already made one, and we're getting The Batman Part 2 in 2027. Now, it takes Matt Reeves a long time to make these movies, 5 years at that. So, Part 3 will probably not come out until 2032. And I think we should actually give him that much time to make the movie. Because if The Batman Part 2 is a masterpiece and is the best Batman movie of all time, then I would give him as much time as he needs, 5 years, for Part 3. But when speaking about that, there's 5 years in between 2027 to 2032. Now, we'll have no more time before Part 2. They're about to go into filming for Part 2. So there's no time there to use Robert Pattinson. But after the release of The Batman Part 2, while Matt Reeves works on the script or whatever during the next 2 years, during that time, we can have Robert Pattinson star as the Batman in The Brave and the Bold, in a DCU movie. Now, how I'm gonna do this is Matt Reeves' The Batman trilogy will be set in the early years of Batman, year 2 and year 3. So year 3 is when Dick Grayson Robin emerges, and if he wants to add in Robin, he can. If he doesn't, that's okay as well. He could end his trilogy in year 3 before Robin. Now for the DCU, we can have a time jump. 10 years, man. Bat family is established, and we get a different depiction of Robert Pattinson's The Batman. Now, it wouldn't be exactly the same. He would now maybe be in a blue and gray costume, not armored. I don't think the blue and gray works with an armored suit. It'd be very different, but it's 10 years in the future. And the events of Matt Reeves' movies, they could be referenced, but they don't have to be. His story could be self-contained. Because guys, come on, if an event happens in your life, like say today, or say 3 events, say 3 movies, say your life was 3 movies for the next 2 years, all right? Then you fast forward 10 years, you're going to be a completely different person, and so much has happened. And that's the same thing for the Batman universe for the DCU. So you could easily have Matt Reeves tell his story. The only thing he would be restricted on is not killing Robert Pattinson's the Batman. Like, if he tries to pull a Nolan, and you know how in Dark Knight Rises, Batman supposedly dies, but he actually doesn't, he retires. So Matt Reeves would not be given the opportunity to retire or kill off his Batman, and I actually think that's a good thing. We don't need another Batman retiring or dying. Like, dude, this is an early staged Batman, so he shouldn't die that early. I also think we shouldn't have, like, in part 3, like a huge time jump. That would be way too similar to Dark Knight Rises, so that's the only restriction. But everything else is open, man. Like, you could have Robert Pattinson's Batman do whatever in Matt Reeves' movies. He could carry out his vision. And then we could have in like a Brave and the Bold movie that maybe comes out in like 2029 or 2030, show him way in the future. And there could be like a gap. You'll be like, man, how did he evolve into this Batman? And they could actually show flashbacks in those movies. Obviously, not so back to like early years. Year 1, year 2, and year 3 would be off limits. And honestly, year 4 and 5, just to have some little gap that goes all to Matt Reeves. But after that, you could show flashbacks of building the Bat family. You could show all that. And come on, the Batman Part 2 being in 2027, and then Brave and the Bold being in 2030, and then 2032 Part 3, that would work, man. And I know some of you guys may say, well, but from a casual audience, would it be weird to say, go from Part 2 to technically Brave and the Bold is Part 4 and then Part 3? I guess if you put it that way. But if they just market it as a different trilogy, and the only similarity is that Robert Pattinson is still the Batman, I actually think that would remove confusion. Because then people would be like, oh, I like this Batman, he's Batman, it's one Batman, and yeah, it's a different depiction of his Batman, but it's still the same actor. And also, it'd be one thing if Matt Reeves was like cranking out the movies. I'd be like, you know what? Keep things entirely separate. Let him make 6 movies. But with how long Matt Reeves takes, I think he's only going to make a trilogy. And maybe some spin-off shows. You can still do those spin-off shows that are set in the early years of Batman, and guess what? The early years of Batman are grounded. He gets more fantastical later on. You know how cool it would be to see Robert Pattinson's the Batman fighting fantastical villains in like a Brave and the Bold movie with the Bat family like way later on, and then you see a movie like Part 3 and he's still grounded and he's growing into that persona. The difference would actually be interesting. And it's a little non-linear, I get it. You're not going, okay, just evolution from like the start to the finish. But I actually think jumping around would be interesting because there'd be some gaps that people could theorize about. You know how cool it'd be to theorize about, oh, we just saw Brave and the Bold and Robert Pattinson's the Batman has all these Bat family, he has all these things established, and okay, we know we're not getting the Bat family in Matt Reeves' trilogy, so what flashbacks? What will we see? What happened from year 5 to year 10? Let's find out in future movies. And then at the same time, Matt Reeves, you could theorize about his world. So in a way, you're still keeping them separate. The only big difference I'm making is keeping Robert Pattinson as the Batman, giving that guy more work. And dude, the difference would be crazy. Imagine having an armored, dark Robert Pattinson Batman, and then having a more fantastical, him in the blue and gray suit, but it's still him, and then you're like, oh wow, he's more Bruce Wayne now. And then I don't think it would spoil anything, because I think in Part 2, he'll become Bruce Wayne. Like, he'll actually be that. So, okay, that evolution will already be done before Brave and the Bold, so there'll be no things spoiled. Tell me down below, guys. I hope you enjoyed the video. It's good to be back. I was like sick for a while. Guys, I was sick for a whole month, man, a whole month and a half. And I've been having a lot of things go on in my life that has been creating barriers for me to film, like moving. Like I've been moving the green screen, been moving monitors, and honestly, audio's been getting messed up. I hope the audio sounded good in this video. I tried my best, and it's only going to get better, alright? You guys are going to be getting like a bunch of videos, alright? One video today, this video, because it's like super long, man. It's like almost an hour and a half or beyond an hour, but I might have one video drop tomorrow, but soon I'll be having double uploads, alright? Double uploads. Are you guys ready, guys? I'm about to go on a grind. And it's going to be long videos. Maybe not as long as this, more like 30 minutes. It depends, bro. I get on with my talking. Like, dude, I thought this video was going to be 30 minutes and it's like an hour and 15 minutes. Like, I talk so much. I'm very passionate about this stuff. I love DC. I love the Batman. Alright, bro, that's going to wrap up the video. Thanks for watching, guys. I appreciate you guys a lot. Tell me all your thoughts down below. Like the video, share the video, get more people to join DC Nation, and get ready for more videos, man. I got so many in the tank. So many ideas. Green Lantern, Supergirl, Superman, Lex Luthor, Green Arrow, The Question, Plastic Man. I just gotta find some more time. You know, time management. I'm getting better at it, alright? One day at a time. Alright, thanks for watching, and peace out.